You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Cabral Concept. Great to have you here today. Can't wait to get started with our wellness and weight loss topic of the week. This is truly going to be one that we are going to draw upon from clinical practice and answer the question once and for all, can stress alone be the thing that is stopping you from your weight loss success or your body transformation success in general, whether that be tightening up, toning your abs, removing cellulite, thinning down, showing off your physique in any way. We're going to talk about that today. And the reason why I want to go over this is that literally every single Monday and Thursday, I am on a private call with my entire health coaching team. And we go through dozens of labs that have come in from Equilibrium Nutrition, people that have gone through hormone testing labs there, or they're sending in the labs for consultations, or they're private wellness clients, whatever it might be. But we spend that time going through real cases. So we are looking at a person's symptoms, and then we're looking at what they've tried in the past, where they're at right now, and to help them to move forward. I mean, this is really what a real clinical practice is all about. And that's why it's so important to understand that when you are on your way to achieving the results that you've never gotten before, oftentimes it takes a holistic approach. And I don't mean that as like holistic with the H. You know, that's fine too. Holistic could be so many things, right? People say like, oh, he's a holistic doctor. I don't even know what that means. I have no idea what a holistic doctor is. I mean, it could be someone that does, people say it for acupuncture, or it could be for Reiki, or it could be for kinesiology or muscle testing, or it could be for anything, I guess. I don't know actually what it is. So I never refer to myself as a holistic doctor or a holistic practitioner. What I like to say, though, is a holistic with a WH makes a lot more sense because you're looking at the whole person. So if someone comes into your practice, and let's say you're a doctor, a medical doctor, or you're trying to get more into functional medicine, and someone tells you they can't lose weight, well, all you're going to look at it for is from the perspective that you can help them with, right? I mean, we all look at the world through the lens that we have, that we're given, or that we acquire. So if you're a conventional medicine doctor and you acquire a lens that makes you the very best at helping people with pharmaceutical drugs, hopefully only for acute-based illnesses, well, that's the lens you look at it through. And weight loss, or if you've gained weight, that's a chronic issue. Unless all of a sudden you gain 30 pounds in a week, then that's a acute medical intervention because you don't know if you have issues with your kidneys backing up, etc., right? So that's an acute-based medical issue. You need to go seek medical, conventional medicine help. But if your issue is, I've been gaining a couple pounds every month for the past 6 months, or every year I put on 5 or 10 pounds and I just can't take the weight off anymore. Well, again, there aren't many medical doctors that's going to be able to help you with that, simply because they've never been taught in-depth nutrition, supplementation, detoxification, intermittent fasting, exercise, sleep, or anything to do with keeping the human body healthy. And again, I don't say that in a disparaging way, but in conventional medicine, they don't actually teach you how to get someone healthy or help someone live a healthier lifestyle. They're teaching you how not to help that person die through pharmaceutical intervention. And again, both are noble, both are great. We need both, for acute-based circumstances, but you have to go to the right person to look for your wellness-based advice. And if you're looking to lose weight and get in shape, your personal trainer is going to know way more than your medical doctor about doing that. Like a good qualified personal trainer, of course. I'm not talking about a lot of the personal trainers that I see at gyms. And it's no disrespect, but you have to want more for yourself to give more to your clients, right? So that's what I see. And I mean, that's just the way that it is. Anybody can learn this. It's not that like there's this hidden box of secrets, right? It just takes that. And so if you're a personal trainer, listen to this: National Academy of Sports Medicine, American College of Sports Medicine, National Strength and Conditioning Association. You can go to these main organizations and then you can learn more about nutrition. Maybe you do the integrative health practitioner course or certification that we have right now, like any one of those. But what you're going to want to do is just build upon your craft, and that will make you better as well. So, don't go for like the lowest hanging fruit in terms of, oh, well, that's a quick certification I could do, or whatever it might be. Do what gives you knowledge. That's what it's all about. It's the knowledge at the end of the day. It's not necessarily a certificate, but it's that knowledge. So that's why I invite you, just to always continue to better yourself. And again, even if it's just for your own personal use, great. Learn more about you. Learn more about your overall health, because after all, you are going to be living with you for the rest of your life. So let's do this right? Let's get you well. And I mean, the reason why I always say that is let's get you well. When you're well, there's no relapsing. And when you're well, there's no more mystery, because you did something that walked you down a path. Sure, there's a couple zigzags, a couple lefts and rights, a couple maybe wrong turns, but you learn the process, right? And that's why you have to understand is that if you're doing a keto diet or a carnivore diet, they're not teaching you a process. You're not learning anything from that. You're really not. What you're doing is you're realizing that, hey, if you cut out this entire macro, here's what happens. But why? Why does that happen? That is the question that you always need to be asking and answering. Why can't I eat carbs? Why? Do I have candida issues, SIBO, H. pylori, parasites, blood sugar dysregularity? What is the issue? Because if you resolve that, well, now you're starting to peel back the onion. You're not just masking it. You're saying, oh, okay, so if I do this, I can get this result. Sure, not overnight, but that's because you need to water your plants, right? You need to take care of this human body, and it will respond in kind. Be kind to it, fix the soil, the terrain, and you'll be able to grow whatever you'd like. Right? I mean, that is the way to do it. So let's get into today's topic. Can stress, or is stress, stopping your weight loss success? And the reason, again, this came directly out of my calls with my health coaching team and looking at labs. We had two people come in. They came to us. They said, last resort, I've done the HCG diet. I've done keto. I've done this. I've done that. And nothing is helping me lose weight. Can you help me? And so they ran the thyroid adrenal hormone panel, which is the number one lab to run for a weight loss issue. I've gone over that before, so I'm not going to go over it today, but it's simply looking at, and this is important, not just looking at, it's looking at this. It's looking at your estrogen and progesterone. It is looking at your testosterone and DHEA. It's looking at your cortisol, morning, noon, afternoon, and before bed, so basically bedtime. It's looking at your thyroid, but not just TSH, because that's not enough. It's looking at your T4, free T4 and free T3. That's activated and active usable thyroid hormone. It's looking at your TPO antibodies to see if there's maybe some type of autoimmune issue with the thyroid. It's looking at vitamin D, because vitamin D is so overlooked in weight loss and metabolism. And then it's looking at your blood sugar in terms of morning insulin and hemoglobin A1C. That is why, it's going to tell you what part of this equation, what's going on here, right? The only thing it doesn't tell you is what's going on with your gut. That would be more of the organic acids test that we offer, the stool-based test, food sensitivity test, etc., right? So here's the thing, though. How would a lab like this show us if stress is really the culprit? Well, I've gone through this whole lab. I don't even remember. If I haven't done it, I'll do another show on this, but I don't want to make this about the lab. I want to make this about the person behind the lab, right? Because it's not just about the numbers. That's why you running the lab is not the end-all, be-all. You have to understand the practitioner, the health coach, the integrative health practitioner needs to know you. So that's why we do a little bit of a ask, Q&A, what's going on with you. Then we read the symptoms questionnaire, we talk with you, and then we create a program for the person, not the lab results. Because it might not be that bad with the lab, but we can see the trends. So I will try to link up the thyroid adrenal hormone podcast I did. I must have done a podcast on it. So head on over to stephencabral.com/1258. That's today's show. stephencabral.com/1258. I've also done a lot of previous podcasts on how to fix female hormones. That's a big one to listen to next if you haven't listened to that. And just explaining this right here is that we look for trends. And the trends with the human body under stress on a thyroid adrenal hormone look like this. And again, I have a podcast on how the adrenals affect the thyroid. Everything has been broken down for you. I mean, I really believe if you have not gone back and listened to previous Cabral concepts, I can't urge you enough to do that. I really can't. And the reason is this. You will gain a functional medicine, not degree, but you'll get a functional medicine overall knowledge base that you can take with you for the rest of life. You really can. That you can share it with friends, your family, yourself when you need it. Maybe you don't need it right now, but maybe a friend does, maybe a partner, right? Someone needs this information or will need the information. Better coming from you, a trusted source to them, than even from someone like myself, because they trust you. So you can be kind of that gateway, that introduction to another way of thinking. And in my opinion, a healthier way of thinking, because you're always asking why. So on this, can stress hinder your weight loss results or success? Let's look. When the body gets under stress, it will predictably raise cortisol levels. Very predictably. And it's in a stress-based state. Now, over time, with chronic stress, that's typically where we see people, right? Not in the beginning, because in the beginning with stress, you feel great. You don't even need that much sleep. You can go. You can do it all, right? You feel like you're Superwoman or Superman, right? You can do it all. So here's the thing. After a while, though, the body doesn't keep up in the same way. Eventually, the body begins to wear down. That makes sense. We get tired, right? Well, what happens is this. On something like a thyroid adrenal hormone, our cortisol levels in the morning start to dip. The rest of the day may look fine. Another hallmark sign is a little bit lower in the morning, at a 6 or below, and then it starts to become elevated in the evening. Not off the chart. It's just above a 0.5. So now we have the classic, a little bit groggy in the morning, a little tired in the morning, meaning you need caffeine to get going. A little bit of brain fog, don't feel like yourself till you have a little bit of caffeine. And then at night, a little hard to wind down. That's the tired and wired. And there's various degrees of that. You could be what I was back in the day, where I literally felt like I was in a fog until 11 a.m., right around 10:30, 11 a.m. And then at night, I could fall asleep at any point during the day. I would pass out, I could nap, I used to try to meditate. I can remember specifically trying to meditate in my mid-20s, and I'd be sitting on a mat, and I was like, I'm just going to lie back for a second because I don't feel comfortable. I feel really tired. And I would just pass out on the hardwood floor on a mat. Like, that's how tired I was. So I could fall asleep anytime during the day. And then, guess what? Put my head down on my pillow, a million thoughts running through my mind. I couldn't wind down. Now I wish I had the knowledge, right? I figured out how to fix all that. But previously, I didn't know. I was tired and wired. So that's a hallmark sign for sure right there. Body's burning out. Body's becoming exhausted. It's a dysfunction in what we call the HPA axis. And again, this is all medically proven in science. It's called the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal gland, and adrenal axis, and we've gone through this before. So the next sign is this. DHEA begins to lower a bit, and sometimes testosterone. Now, how do we know that? Well, we know that there's a range for healthy DHEA and healthy testosterone. Well, DHEA starts to fall below a 6 on the current lab that we're using. Again, the lab does not matter. The results matter, and the practitioner who gives you the plan matters. That's what matters, right? It doesn't matter the lab specifically. You could be anywhere in the world and run a lab and get your results, and you just need to be able to put together a protocol. But today I'm showing you how stress wears down the body. I'm going to pull it all together for you in just a couple minutes. So we see DHEA start to dip. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, it means that the body is, again, no longer at the same strength. Hormones are not going to be as strong. That includes testosterone and typically progesterone. We'll talk about estrogen in a moment. And what we see is the immune system starts to be a little bit lower. We'll see that there's a little bit more inflammation in the body because the body's not producing as many natural anti-inflammatories with cortisol. And the immune system isn't quite as regulated, which means there may be a balance between what's called an imbalance between Th1 and Th2 immunity. Again, you don't need to know what that means, but as you move into Th2, immune dysfunction, you start to deal with chronic inflammation. It could be headaches, it could be allergies, it could be skin itchiness, it could be things like eczema or skin rashes, headaches, allergies, asthma. I've already named some of those, but most of the chronic inflammatory-based issues. So now we're leading to, okay, the body's it's getting more tired, it's getting more fatigued. Yes, because why? Because it's constantly being stressed every day, right? I got to wake up, I got to take care of the kids, or I got to get to work, I've got to do this, I'm trying to exercise, I'm trying to do this, and the other thing. And then next thing you know, it's nighttime, and then I'm on social media, and I'm watching TV, whatever might be going on, and then, I'm not going to be able to get 8 hours of sleep tonight, and then I wake up a couple times throughout the night. The body wears down. This is what happens. It's predictable. The only reason we know it's predictable, well, one is, again, it's proven by science, and the second part is this, is that we see it over and over in our practice, and I just want to share that with you so that you know that you're not alone, that this is very common. It really is. You're not alone. It's very common. The last part I want to give you before I move on to the thyroid is that typically, as in almost always, we see progesterone levels start to fall, specifically in women. Again, this is a bigger issue with women than it is men. And I'll tell you why I believe this. Couple reasons. One is that women start to reduce hormones, namely progesterone. Estrogen will fall eventually as well. But it literally prevents them from becoming pregnant. It dysregulates their menstrual cycle. And why would that be important? Well, if you are in a stressful environment that is not conducive to life, whether thousands of years ago or even hundreds of years ago, there wasn't enough food, or you were on the move, like you had to move, or meaning like not just move your house, but like there were times of war and famine and drought, like serious things that a lot of us in so-called developed nations don't have to deal with anymore. It wasn't that long ago. I mean, it really is amazing to look at it. Like we're talking 200 years. 200 years for a lot of this. And if you just want to even look at refrigeration and those types of things, we're talking about 60 years. Like not a lot of time, maybe 70. So all of this is to say our bodies are designed very specifically. And one of the reasons why I believe, again, men's hormones aren't affected in the same way is that men don't have to carry on new life for a population. And I also believe since they were the original, like go out, hunt, fight, etc. Now, again, I'm not saying that women can't do that. I'm using a big generalization, especially when I look at, all of the strong women all around me specifically. And I say things like that to them. They're like, what are you talking about? And I say, listen, I understand. I get it. And I'm in total agreement with you. But our body's biology in terms of what they're meant to do in terms of hormones are different. And when we look at that, it's a protective mechanism. I really believe that. I've seen it just thousands and thousands of times now. Because along with the progesterone that lowers, I see a lowering of thyroid typically only in women, mostly in women. So now what we're looking at is a other survival standpoint. Let's say you were pregnant. You would want to be able to survive for you and your child on as few calories as possible. So you'd actually begin to lower your need for total calories in a day to be able to survive. So when you lower your thyroid, you actually reduce circulation, you reduce overall metabolism, overall cellular metabolism. That is not just calories, but it's overall metabolic rate, meaning like how much energy is actually being produced in your body. Really important to look at that. So now we're looking at, okay, the body's now lowering its metabolism and it's lowering its overall calorie consumption. Why? Preserve life. Preserve life for you, if you're a woman, and also potentially your unborn child. Again, crucial to look at that because that has not gone away in terms of hormones. It hasn't. Maybe in the future, but I just don't think so. I think this is a biological benefit actually to the human body. Now, you might say, well, it's not a benefit because I'm trying to get pregnant and we work with a lot of women and we just actually got an amazing success story. One woman had been trying to have children for over 2 years, and I hope she's listening to this podcast because we're super proud of her. She's been working with us for about a year. Again, sometimes it's stressful. It really is. Finally, she got pregnant, but a lot of it has to do with repairing the homeostatic systems in the body and reducing stress to the highest level possible. It really is. And when I look at that, I look at how stress affects the thyroid. Again, I've talked about this, of how actually increasing the HPA axis or increasing like adrenal function, cortisol, and adrenaline block thyroid. They do. This is the honest truth. And it starts to dysregulate blood sugar. So when we look at stress, if someone says stress has nothing to do with weight loss, I just say, how could you possibly say that? So if you read an article and say it's just about calories in, calories out, I can tell you that that's absolutely not true. Not even beyond, a shadow of a doubt is it not true, because it just is plain false. Does calories in, calories out matter? Yes. The more stressed you get, the less calories you're going to eat. Or need to eat or can eat. So that makes sense too. But here's the problem. Your metabolic rate is going down and down and down. There's a lot of people who come into us, again, mainly female. They can only eat 800, 900, 1,000 calories a day or they'll gain weight. Well, that's not a healthy way to live. It's extremely difficult to even just get a day's worth of nutrition in 800 calories. That's pretty challenging. How do you get your 7 to 9 servings of fruits and veggies? How do you get your 30, 40, 50, 60 grams of protein per day? How do you get in all your good healthy fat? Again, all of these things matter. So what we're looking at is saying that weight loss is not as simple as you need to eat less or exercise more. And I want to give you one big topic on this too, or one big takeaway. The less you eat, the more you're telling your body that you're in a stress state. You're telling it there's not a lot of food. I'm in a shortage right now. Lower my metabolism. Don't burn as much body fat. Hold on to the body fat. Hold on to it because we're essentially starving. There's not a lot of food. Protect us, keep us alive, lower metabolic rate. When you look at it like that, it begins to make sense. You can say, well, of course that makes sense. Your body wants to keep you alive. Your body is a living organism. It doesn't always respond to just what your brain tells it to do. So if your brain's like, no, I want you to burn body fat, burn more body fat. Well, it's not going to listen. It's going to listen through action and through what's called the proprioceptive neuromuscular system or the proprioceptive nervous system, which tells your central nervous system what to do. So if you're under stress and your central nervous says, hey, I'm under stress, and it kicks in the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight, you may or may not believe that you're in it. But we can show you if you are or not. And again, it doesn't have to just be us. Hair tissue mineral analysis. If you see elevated calcium, magnesium, or you even see a 4 high with your CalMag and your sodium and potassium, you're highly stressed. If you see a 4 low, you're already in the burning out pattern. All of them are fixable. They're all fixable. It's not like this is not a body that we don't understand. We do. It's pretty magnificent in what it does. I really believe that. Like when people say, I can't believe that this happened to my body, I just say, I can. And it's pretty incredible. It's pretty awesome. It really is. Because your body is not fighting against you. It is not. It's working with you every single day. That has to be the takeaway that we start to look at it. Because I see these plans that are just meant to beat down your body. Your body didn't do anything wrong. In every way, it's trying to protect you. Even when I was so sick and all these different things, it was dysregulated. It was doing its best. When your body has inflammation is being caused by something else. Inflammation is a response to something. Inflammation is almost always a healing response. And I know that's strange to believe. I'm not going to go down that avenue today. But your body, usually when it increases white blood cells, which may lead to more inflammation, is trying to clean something up. It's trying to remove something. Help your body out. Just help it out. That's really what the symptoms are. We get all these symptoms of dis-ease. Listen to the symptoms. What are they telling you? I talked about this just yesterday. The fatal flaw of conventional medicine. If you didn't listen to that podcast, you have to understand there's a huge difference. Well, when we're looking at stress, if you're being told to eat less, what are you doing? Slowing your metabolism to a greater degree. You're in a survival-based state. Now, if you put your micronutrient level really high, that will help, though. That will help. And again, we teach all of that. Get your micronutrients high, your vitamins, your minerals, right? Your essential fatty acids, your amino acids. Get those high. Give your body the micros that it needs. The macros are not as important. They do matter. We still need to get them, and we need them in the right ratio. Okay, what's the next part? Eat less, exercise more. Well, exercise more. What are you doing? You're putting more stress in your body. You know I'm a huge proponent of exercise. Right after I record this podcast, I'm heading to the gym. I love exercise. I've been in the fitness field for now 20 years, and it's something that I believe everyone should do. but the level in which they do it will vary depending on the level of stress they're under. And that's why I'm going to start reviewing more fitness-based technology. What's your heart rate variability? What is your fasting glucose? These are things that are easy to do. I told two of my health coaches, we have 4 full-time health coaches on our team, that here's what I would do. Again, we looked at their labs. We gave them the corrective things for the high cortisol in the evening, the imbalance between estrogen, progesterone, etc. But I said, have them take their fasting glucose when they wake up, because we saw high insulin levels, and also have them take their fasting glucose before bed. And you can do the same. If you're in the 90s or above before bed, you're not really going to be tapping into body fat as much. If you're in the 90s or above, when you wake up in the morning, you more certainly were not taking advantage of that 8 to 10 hours where you should be burning body fat, where there's no food coming in. And again, you know that we recommend the 12-hour overnight for most people, not for everyone, but most people. Could be a little longer. I'll be teaching that this fall. So these are all important factors to look at. But I'll tell you this, a lot of the people that we see come in, they're absolutely limiting their calories and most likely carbs, which again, fine in the beginning, you can't do it forever. And then they're also doing really hard workouts. They're doing boot camps. They're doing the harder versions of CrossFit. They're just doing really hard workouts. And again, I'm not against those. I'm pro-exercise. Get your body healthy first. If you put it under another greater set of stress, that's only going to further increase your glucose levels because of stress, and you check out my previous shows on that. Is that doing you any favors? No, it's not. It's also why a lot of people end up losing weight as they kind of like scale back their workouts, not make them as crazy. Eventually you can. Eventually you can get as crazy as you want with your workouts, as long as you're recovered, as long as you're eating well, as long as you're getting all those nutrients that your body needs to recover. So when someone asks me, is stress stopping your weight loss success? The answer is absolutely yes. Absolutely. It's a huge part of the process, a huge part of it. So yes, we have to look at calories. We have to look at carbs. We need to look at enough protein and fat. All those matter. We need to look at your exercise. You at least have to be walking. You do it to move the body. That does matter. Then again, you graduate. I've talked about this before in the Integrative Health Practitioner course and certification. I did a podcast on the 4 phases of exercise. So all of it's there for you. You do need that. But really, it's the entire outline of the de-stress protocol. Diet, you need exercise, you need stress reduction, which is what we're talking about today. You need to remove toxins. Why? Because they're a form of stress in your body. They're a form of stress in your liver. We see a lot of women with higher levels of estrogen. Why? Well, could be one, they have issues processing in the liver. That matters as well. So we look at detoxification, functional medicine detoxes with liver. We look at turning on the parasympathetic nervous system at night so they can lower blood sugar and they can start to burn more body fat naturally. We look at emotional balance, which leads to stress. Are you always anxious? Are you always overwhelmed? It's a big deal. It honestly is. Then we look at supplement protocols. You're going to need some help. You really are. You're probably going to need some help, especially when you're that low in calories. And then the success mindset. Understanding that, sure, you might have dealt with this for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, or your entire life since childhood. But that doesn't mean that you can't fix this. It doesn't mean that you can't resolve it. Because there's an underlying issue. And as you begin to peel back the onion, you'll start to see that there are actually levels to this. That calories do matter, exercise matter. But when you're talking about weight loss, and you're talking to, again, some men are included in this, but a lot of it is predominantly women that we see in our practice. And you're telling women that they just need to move their bodies more and they need to stop eating so much. It's cruel and unusual. It really is. I mean, I wouldn't say it's unusual because it gets told to women all the time, but it's unfair. So it's cruel and unfair because there's so much more to this. There really is. And then you add in birth control. That's another level to this, right? Telling your body that it's pregnant, right? Or we can't get pregnant at this moment in time. How does that affect the rest of the body? Or they have gut-based issues. Again, when we look at helping someone lose weight, it has to be from multiple standpoints, and stress is one of the biggest ones. So for you starting to reframe stress in your life, for you starting to add more of those micronutrients back in, for you to start to tone down the really hard workouts if you're already stressed, for you to prioritize sleep a little bit more, for you to work on meditation, relaxation, listening to binaural beats, doing Epsom salt soaks, going for or giving yourself a gentler self-massage like Abhyanga from Ayurveda. All of these things are going to be the difference makers. They really are. So if you have a friend that's struggling to lose weight right now, I really hope that you pass this podcast or pass this information along to them. You will be able to figure this out. It is not your fault. It's not just about eating as few calories as possible or zero carbohydrates. And it's not about exercising till you feel like you're going to pass out. It's not. That's not what it's all about. Hopefully today's podcast was helpful. Please do feel free to let me know on social media if you enjoyed it or not. Over on Instagram is mainly where I'm at. It's just my name, Stephen Cabral. And feel free to ask follow-up questions at cabralsupportgroup.com. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day. And of course, we'll be back tomorrow with more podcasts from the Cabral Concept. Take care. Ever wonder what the best sauna, blue blockers, sleep trackers, wake lights, salt lamps, or other health gadgets are? Or what about the top non-toxic mattresses, sheets, soaps, bath products, toothpaste, and cookware? Or would you like to know the cleanest choices for hemp parts, meal delivery services, supplements, and much more? I personally curated, researched, and now created a resource page of all of my top picks that continues to grow each week. These are the exact products I use in my own life, with my family, in my private practice, and they're the ones I trust. To find out all of my up-to-date recommendations and all the details, simply head on over to stephencabral.com/resources.